Welcome to Walking with Jesus Bible Study. We're going to be in the book of Proverbs, chapter 21, verse 4. Oh, let me go in here. There it is. A high look and a proud heart, and the plowing of the wicked is sin. And I'm going to repeat that. A high look and a proud heart, and the plowing of the wicked is sin. Pride is one of those so-called 7 deadly sins, and with good reason. Arrogance in one's own importance over others is vain, and it angers God. There is nothing that may rival God's heights and power, and yet he shows no arrogance. No nation, no group, no one person is number one. With a true faith and love in one's heart, all are equal in the eyes of our Lord. He made us all. And we are all equal. No, it doesn't matter about the color of our skin, how much money we make, how much education we have, our marital status, the state we live in, the country we live in, what car we drive, what house we live in. First of all, Jesus never lived in a house. And he was the Son of God, plus he was God himself. He didn't even live in a house. So why does it matter what house you live in? And no, God doesn't love people more or less because, oh, he's got to love me more because look how he's blessed me. You know, I have this nice fancy home. That has nothing to do with it whatsoever. He could care less about what house you live in. He really could. All he cares about is your heart. See, a lot of people seem to think that God seems to care about materialistic things, and by that meaning that he provides and he blesses his children, the ones he loves, with all these things, because it constantly keeps talking about you with God you live a life abundantly. Are y'all misunderstanding the words? Not everything abundantly means materialistic. And it doesn't even mean money. And actually doesn't mean money at all. Life abundantly. Blessings have many forms. Your health is a blessing. Yes, the car you may drive is a blessing, whether it be old or new. The fact that you have a car is a blessing. See, everybody's looking at it the wrong way and the wrong end. And you know, just because God gave me this talent and I'm very gifted and I'm very smart and I do this and I do that, and I first of all, we got to remember that without God, we can do nothing. That without God, we can be nothing. That without God, we are nothing. So there is no I in anything. Because you didn't do nothing. God allowed it. If you did anything, it's because God allowed it to happen. If you spoke any word, it's because God allowed it to happen. And yes, there's evil in the word and in the world, and God doesn't create the evil. Does he allow it to exist? Yes. Because you got to understand, he takes what is evil and uses it and turns it into good. He is all good. Nothing about him is evil. And people can't understand, why does he allow the suffering and stuff? Actually, he doesn't. What he does, he allows us to live. And he gives us free will. We have the right to choose what we do and how we act, what we create. It is us who puts the evil into the world. It is us who is doing these evil things. God gave you free will. He gave you choice. You're not a puppet on a string. So yes, does it sound evil? Does it sound wrong to say that God allows evil to exist? Well, he has to allow evil to exist if he wants us to exist. Because we are the evil. If he was to not allow evil to exist, then we wouldn't exist. And we want to get, and a lot of people want to get onto him for allowing it to happen. And why doesn't he stop it? Well, he has. Just he's very compassionate. He flooded the whole earth to get rid of evil. He's several times, if you read those scriptures and read the Bible, where he's trying to demolish all evil. But because he loves us and loves the way he created us, and that he made us in his own image, and that we are his children, and he allows us to live, to allow us to live is to allow evil to exist. So you're therefore blaming the wrong person. You need to turn around and blame yourself. Look in that mirror and point your finger. Why do you allow this? Because nobody's stopping you from getting up and correcting these things. Yes, one voice matters. One voice can go out and do a lot of major difference. All it takes is one person to stand up. So you can get mad and frustrated all you want to, but there's not enough people standing up. There's not a lot of people with their voices. There's not a lot of people going up there and making a difference. You have the right, the way, and the voice to choose and to make things better. Just simply complaining about it and passing the blame to God is not going to change anything. And yes, he will put it into it. When Jesus comes on the second coming, this world will no longer, everything in it will be destroyed. And evil will no longer exist. And that is why it's very important for his children to be separated from the rest, to act a certain way, to be a certain way, to talk a certain way, to love a certain way. Because we are not to have any evil in us. That's why we are to forgive. We're not to be living in anger. We are to be a reflection. When people look at us, they need to see a reflection of God. When they see us, they need to know God's grace and God's mercy, and that he exists just by simply looking at us. That is how we need to be. Because those are the people that is going to be holy. Those are the people that is going to be righteous. And those are the people that he is going to choose to live into that new earth, where there will be no evil, where there will be no suffering. And the only way to achieve that is to mold and correct the ones that is here to be able to be approved. Just like when you have certain schools that you want to get your kids into, they have a certain criteria and all this stuff you got to do to get that child in there, and they have to meet this and this and this. It's no different than getting to the kingdom of heaven. You got to check every mark on that checklist, because if you don't want evil, why would he accept these people? And yes, just because you have done some things doesn't make you not acceptable to God. Oh, he's been a murderer. Why would he allow him to go in heaven? Because the dude saw his wrong, changed himself, and he was corrected. See, we are all evil. We are all wrong. None of us is the correct. We can't do nothing without God. We need God to change us, to mold us, and to shape us into who he wants us to be. So we can be that righteous person, the one that's great enough, good enough, and to be accepted into heaven. Not one person is born, accepted, and ready to go into Christ. Except the little children. And we are his children. No matter how old we are never too old to be remolded, to be corrected, to be taught. And no, we don't know hardly, no matter how smart you are, you do not know enough to be questioning why God does the things that he does. First of all, to clear up any and every debate that there is, the fact that God exists and he did create all things is the fact that he can do any and everything that he wants to do, whether we like it or not, whether we see as right or wrong. It doesn't matter what we think. We're not God. God is. So who are you to argue anything that he has done or said?